in the heart of the urban jungle, a unique species of Homo sapiens thrives. Identified by their common adornments, the humble hoodie, their peculiar yet endearing rituals involving ping-pong tables, and an astonishing amount of free coffee. The startup Homo sapiens.
I'm no David Attenborough, but I know a thing or two about startups. For example, did you know they don't run on coffee alone?
I'm here to guide you on an extraordinary journey. Our new Twitch series, AWS Let's Build a Startup. Together we shall observe how an idea evolves, grows and matures into a real minimum viable product. All of this within the AWS ecosystem. Whether it's the thirst of knowledge guiding you or simply your passion for free caffeine. Join me on this fascinating journey. Hey, hello founders, welcome back to AWS Let's Build a Startup. This is another episode in which we are exploring interesting agentic use cases developed by startups all over the world. AWS Let's Build a Startup is your weekly 1-hour show when we are actually getting on stage fantastic startups that will share their nuggets of wisdom, and they will tell us a bit more about what it takes to build a successful successful business on AWS. I'm your usual host, Giuseppe Battista. I'm a senior solutions architect based here in the UK. Please do let me know where you're coming from. We are streaming simultaneously on LinkedIn, Twitch, and YouTube. So wherever you're coming from, let me hear what you're building, where you, what is it that you're building, like what are your questions for our fantastic guests today. So today, again, we're exploring another interesting agentic use case, and I'm super proud to have here a couple of companies that are actually able to give voice to your agents and building that incredible and seamless conversational experience that, to be honest, we are at this point expecting in 2025. So today I will be here and we will be diving deep into the world of voice and conversational AI with Deepgram and Kore.ai. But again, folks, please do let me know if you have any questions, and if you are currently building agents, I'm super eager to learn a bit more about what you're doing. So without further ado, I would say, let me just introduce who Deepgram are. So Deepgram is a startup that provides a voice AI platform for developers and businesses. They offer APIs for converting speech to text, text to speech, and they're building advanced conversational AI agents with advanced audience intelligence. So you can think of this as going way beyond transcription, including sentiment analysis, topic detection, summarization, and named entity extraction. So I would say anything that would help you in managing your natural language processing from voice to intent. And to talk more about that, I'm bringing up to stage Chris. Chris is, hey Chris, how's it going? Thank you so much for joining, and let me switch this to something that folks can actually see your face.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Yeah. So, Chris, you're the director or partnership at Deepgram, right? So, our audience may be more used to title like CTO, CXOs, and like different growth stage of the startup. So, can we maybe gently introduce our audience to what the director of partnership does? What is your day-to-day like? And maybe in a few seconds, we'll also discuss a bit more about the company in general. So, the floor is yours. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah, so director of partnerships at Deepgram, we're at a point where we're ready to, take it to the next level of scale, right? Really move into the enterprise space, and to do so, it's hard to do alone, right? When people either don't know who your company is, you're not big enough to reach the heights of, the Fortune 100 or the big name companies that everybody comes to know. So, my role is to work with companies like Kore.ai, global systems integrators like Deloitte, Accenture, the folks like that, the big consulting firms, and really work with them on positioning Deepgram as a preferred partner in speech to text and text to speech engagements. So we, the technology, I think this role doesn't really come into a startup until the technology is at a point where it's truly enterprise ready. and somebody like a global systems integrator can feel comfortable to take someone like Deepgram into their install base and provide, a true product that's ready, right? So that's why I was brought on board, is to really help accelerate those motions and help us scale. So
Yeah, sounds great. And again, this is a stage of maturity that expresses how much your customers are actually adopting your solutions at scale. But before we get into that, I would say, can you give us a little bit of an understanding of how Deepgram is solving this basically the problem of like transforming transforming conversation into insights.
yeah, so I think you alluded to it in the beginning. So Deepgram provides the models for speech to text, text to speech, and speech to speech models, right? At the voice AI infrastructure. And what's really important is at the infrastructure level of voice, we're the foundation, right? If we get something wrong, it affects the partners that we work with. It affects the people that are building solutions on Deepgram. So it's very important for us to make sure that our models are accurate. They're performing as we said they are. The voices are clear cut. They're emotional. They're natural, right? And it can provide the right user experience for their end customers to use. So I think we are making sure that the foundation is sound, that there's no cracks in the foundation, and that way when companies either build on top of Deepgram or they use us as part of their core product, we're providing the right structure there, at the text to speech, speech to text levels.
Sounds great. And I think that voice is taking much of a central stage role when it comes to creating I would say the new interfaces of the future. So I'm keen to understand a little bit what the take of Deepgram is on this.
Yeah, voice has always been how humans naturally communicate, right? I think we speak faster. It's a lot easier than typing. Um, for a while, the voice AI capabilities weren't there. They're very set in their responses, right? And you'd get frustrated and you try to repeat the same thing, and it would redirect you every single time to the same, IVR triage system, right? Now we're seeing it where it's a lot more intelligent. It has the capability to not only understand the natural language, but think clearly based on the data that it's provided and actually get you where you want to go, right? So imagine you're going for something simple as a pharmacy pickup, right? Now you can say what you want in just a few words, and it can take that understanding of what you're trying to say and route you to where you need to go. So it's starting, over the last few years, the difference I think we're seeing is that the technology for voice AI is now so much more advanced that we're capable to provide these type of experience, right? The deep learning models are much better. The GPUs, the training data, all of it can now handle a lot of those real world conditions that in the past it really wasn't trained to do and the technology wasn't there. So because of that, we're starting to see that it's really becoming critical in a lot of businesses and how they think about enhancing those user experiences, thinking about how the human agent can get improvement by being able to focus on more complex issues, whereas the voice AI today can take on some of those simple tasks.
Yeah, that's. I think I have a very similar take on this. I had the privilege of working for 1 year in Alexa. Sorry, I have to whisper it because I have one on my desk and I forgot to ignore me. But I would say that yeah, like with this additional layer of capabilities that we have unlocked with large language models and like they have pushed us into the direction of building more and more and more infrastructure for machine learning. And this is where we're also, I think that like voice or like text to speech and speech to text model can actually benefit from it. So like we are kind of witnessing this I would say second wave of voice, maybe even a third wave of voice models. And this is such an important aspect of new user experiences. But I guess my next question there is like, normally human interactions are absolutely messy, and like a voice and like expressing the right concept with voice is maybe, emotional. It has a lot of like hidden meanings, or it is like packed of context. So that'd be super interesting to understand, like how you folks are actually managing this, and maybe shed some light on like why transcriptions is such a hard problem to solve.
Yeah, great question. I'm sure everybody joining this or watching has talked to some voice AI agent at some point and been frustrated, right? Because it's not going to where you want to go, and the challenges are still there, right? Speech is messy, because it's not just words strung together clearly. People talk over each other, they use filler words, they pause mid-sentence, they change topics midstream. And then you want to add in things like, background noises, a bad microphone, the different types of accents, and it becomes a real challenge, right? And you take an industry like healthcare, add all of that. Now go and add complex terminology, drugs names, procedures, different acronyms. So I think it's important, to not just have these general models that serve speech holistically, right? It's important for us at least to really define these models in an industry perspective. So I think from the first part, it's about mapping. It's not just about mapping the sound of the text, right? We have to decode human intent, right? Which is difficult. There's the real world conditions. What does their tone sound like? What's their emotional state? It's hard to predict a lot of that stuff.
Mhm.
So the way we've approached it is, training a lot of these domain specific models, right? So can you train your models on things like clinical data, right? So you don't have to just get the words right, but you can get the right words right. And then that allows you to better understand the intent. And then once you understand the intent, you know where to take the customer, to take the patient in the next flow of the conversation. So, there's certainly real world challenges, and the technology, as I alluded to in the last question, it's getting to a point where we can now handle things like the background noise. We can handle and distinguish, between multiple speakers, which is still a challenge today. Don't get me wrong; these things are certainly a challenge. But the more we can, fine tune these models for certain industries, the more we can work on, canceling out background noise, working on, the different dialects and accents that people have. It's only improving, right? It's the beauty of the space is that everything being developed is only improving, right? It's not going backwards, and it's not, seeing, delays in success there. So.
Yeah. The other thing that I want to share with the audience is just drawing down here. So uh, uh, we have actually or like you will have actually the possibility of like getting started building on Deepgram. So we shared these links here on LinkedIn, YouTube. It's gonna be available on Twitch pretty much soon as well. So like if you want to move your first step, that's where I would recommend that you start building. So. I guess the other question. So we touched briefly healthcare, and this is going to be the focus on the of the rest of the episode. I think. But another question I had from the top of my head is, can you give us maybe a sense of like what are the industries and maybe the use cases that you see voice is actually taking over as a way to interact?
Yeah. So contact centers, customer services, uh, across industry, I think that's the most common thing that we're seeing, whether it's healthcare, financial services, retail, travel, things like that. Contact centers are where we see the most use, right? Because if you think about a lot of simple things that you can automate with voice AI to allow human agents to focus on more complex issues, think of things like scheduling or rescheduling an appointment with your doctor, calling in about fraud detection with your local bank credit card company, checking into a hotel, things like that can be pretty easily automated with voice AI today, right? And now you can allow your human agents to focus on maybe more complex things that come up, VIP members for a casino that need that human touch, right? Wealth advisors working with high end clients where you're managing portfolios, they still want that human touch, right? So there's a lot of areas that we're automating today in the contact center space. I think the most we're seeing today is healthcare. And financial services are really starting to enable a lot of voice agents, right? I think when you think of, take an example of a pharmacy, right, that we're working with, the pharmacists a lot of times can be overwhelmed, or they're handling, a lot of clerical work, and then the flu season comes around, and the call volumes are spiking, and you don't really have enough staff to handle simple things like refill requests, scheduling vaccines, maybe a quick insurance claim call. And so that's where, we're really seeing a lot of demand in combination with our partners at Kore, who are doing the orchestration for us, where we're automating a lot of those repetitive calls, reducing, 20% of these calls that reach the pharmacist, right? Because they can now focus on the more complex tasks and allow the voice AI to handle, the simple things. So, yeah.
Yeah, so essentially you're spawning additional agents or like additional handlers for conversation that might not be the most complex, right? So like freeing up time of I would say pharmacists, of doctors, and I'm also thinking in the environment of a hospital, like how much that can be removed from a perspective of like filling up bureaucracy, or like making sure that you have all of the boxes ticked and stuff like that. So I guess that my next question there would be, this kind of technology, I think it's helping reducing clinician burden and improving the patient's experiences today. Can you give us maybe like a glimpse into the future, like how how Deepgram is currently helping there?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges in, well, maybe burdens in healthcare is documentation, right?
Mm.
Think about how much time, my wife is a nurse, and she tells me all the time how much time she has to spend, you know, typing up the notes after they see a patient, and how much of that time takes away from her day, right? Instead of helping patients, she's having to spend time typing up these notes. And so that's a big burden, right? Of a lot of time that should be spent on patient care. And maybe it leads to burnout. So I think what we're looking to get to in at least in this space is the ability where you can transcribe a patient doctor conversation in real time, right? Auto structure those notes that flow into their EHR system, where you can save these clinicians 6 to 7 minutes per visit from having to type out all these notes, right? And get this right, so they can focus on the patient. Now you multiply that across 100 visits a week, and now you're talking about days of care time given back. So from a patient's perspective, it's equally impactful, right? Because if you go into a doctor's office, we're not really as normal folks, not medical folks. Sometimes doctors talk really fast, or they say really complex words, and we don't really know what they're saying. So if a doctor can avoid time trying to type up notes and do all that stuff, and really help break down maybe something that I'm going through, I think that gives me as a patient a better experience, getting their full undivided attention instead of having to focus on notes and things like that. So now what we're hoping to see is a shift from healthcare feeling less transactional and feeling more of responsive, true patient doctor relationship.
Yeah, so basically taking away all of that time that is employed into bureaucracy or like going through all of the things that are super important, but also it's not direct care with the patient. So I guess yeah, I'm hoping that this is the kind of experience that we're moving towards. And I guess that this is one aspect of where you folks are helping, and this is taking away undifferentiated heavy lifting in every kind of profession, especially the medical profession. I guess that the other side of the coin is more related to like kind of getting all of the transcripts and then making it into real-time intelligence interactions, right? So, and I guess that that's where your responsibility as a company that is mainly focusing on like getting from a voice interaction or like from a text interaction to speech, and then extracting all of this vital information such as anything that has to do with the context and sentiment analysis, name entity extraction, and all of that. That's kind of the end of your responsibility. And I think this is where you folks have started maybe looking for partners to actually create that end-to-end experience that is making our lives simpler and removing some of the additional undifferentiated heavy lifting that you may find into some of the stages of a care plan, for example, like care navigation and so on. And to talk a little bit more about that, so like the operationalizing, is that a word? I don't know. So making this into like something that is operable or something that can get you from inside to actually ROI. I have the immense pleasure of having with us Chip. Chip is um, a friend of ours and a partner of yours. I guess Chip has helped you operationalize. I think I'll if that word doesn't exist, I think I'll create it right now. But I'm bringing up Chip to onto the stage, and maybe Chip, you can tell us a bit more about the role that Kore.ai actually had in building that end-to-end experience that now is helping customers, I guess, all over the US. But I think you folks have plans to expand much further than that. So, Chip, thank you so much for joining us. How's it going?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. It's doing well, and I've been listening intently to your conversation. And first of all, I use the word operationalize in context all the time. Yes, I'm the senior product manager for the healthcare offerings here at Kore.ai. I got my start here after a very long stint, over 30 years, at a very large global healthcare provider system, where I lived day in and day out a lot of the discussions that you've had before about how to bring world-class healthcare to patients and deliver it at scale and deliver it in the context of the current economic environment. And joining Core and leading a lot of the product strategy in healthcare was born out of understanding what customers and patients truly need. And I appreciated the commentary around the use of voice. Voice is a human emotional method of conveying information, knowledge, and feelings. It is packed full of intent, as we've discussed, and being able to tap into that data stream, if you will, of a doctor-patient conversation, and be able to use it to derive needs and the steps in delivering care is so critical. Core is able to orchestrate conversations, whether it's between a doctor and a patient, whether it's between a doctor and another medical professional, whether it's between an insurance company and a medical professional, or perhaps a patient and their insurance company, whether it's a pharmacist or a pharmacy technologist. And we're able to orchestrate because we tap in to the systems of record, the data where critical information lies, but then present it to the users through that voice interface. We couldn't do it without a best-in-class provider such as Deepgram. And I'll offer, I don't think Deepgram could deliver the voice interface without a best-in-class platform for orchestration that brings that conversation together. So yeah, my background of understanding the needs in a healthcare environment, I bring to the products at Kore, and we leverage what partners like Deepgram make available, so that we have best-in-class together solutions out there.
Yeah, and Chip, thank you so much for that. That's clearly illuminating. But I know that you're also a serial entrepreneur. You've always been into the healthcare vertical, I guess. So I wanted to maybe borrow on your experience as an entrepreneur and a serial founder, maybe to give your perspective on like how building a business from the ground up has actually changed in the last few years. Maybe if you have noticed some trends. I mean, of course, AI is pervasive right now, but is there anything that you might want to help, or that you might want to share with our audience of founders in terms of like any piece of advice, something that is that might be surprising to them? I really want to get to you to share some of your occurred wisdom.
Yeah. So over the years, a few tidbits of wisdom, if you will. I mean, typically it's you have a good idea, you rustle up some resources, maybe financial or human talent, and that forms the basis of a killer startup, a killer app. Quite frankly, the use of automation today has shortened the time from idea to minimally viable product an order of tenfold. And it's also put a greater impact on the need to, if you're going to fail very quickly, fail very fast, so that you can iterate and get on to the next successful solution. So we're very fortunate in this day and age to have access to investment capital, but also access to these tools, whether they're AI tools or coordination tools, to be able to quickly identify the key element of an idea and focus on that. I've worked with a lot of physicians in my career, and they often will discuss how their challenges were this inspiration for a new idea. What they failed to realize is that their challenge wasn't unique, and there were a lot of other clinicians, physicians that have come up with something similar. And what sets them apart is the ability to apply the best-in-class tools to deliver value. And so what I would encourage any entrepreneur out there is surround yourself not just with the problem creators, but really the solution providers, and make sure you're not so bold to think that you have the only answer, that in fact there are others that may have a better solution, and you have to be poised to be able to pivot to that and really follow that pathway.
Yeah.
Those are just some thoughts, but
Yeah.
bringing it back to AI and healthcare. So what you're seeing here, and I'll be very direct. The critical point, and we're at that inflection point, is to be able to orchestrate a natural process using the voice interface. For years it was thought, well, machines will take over the world and do it all. I think we've learned enough to know that the human in the loop is going to differentiate technology, and finding ways to bring the human into those processes and do it in a way that is more efficient than the human working alone or the machine working alone is the critical piece here. And that's what we do with Deepgram and all of our healthcare applications.
Yeah, I wanted to pick on something you said, which is like you must be poised to like pivot to a better solution that somebody else might have, and I guess that this is what's happening exactly with Deepgram, right? So you found out in the market somebody who's I think was instrumental to like building up the full end-to-end experience, but they are probably one of the best companies that do this. So like you said, okay, you know what, this is what how we're going to integrate it into our platform. So I guess that the other piece of advice that I would say to like young entrepreneurs or like founders that are moving their first steps would be think really early about like what differentiates your business, and then like find and build partnerships that will help you deliver that vision. So I think that's really, really cool. And thank you so much for sharing. Pivoting back onto your partnership, folks. I wanted to maybe get a quick view from you guys on, that there are so many opportunities for automation when it comes to healthcare, and I wanted to ask you, what are, in your opinion, some of the most impactful use case that you're seeing at Core, or that you're seeing at Deepgram, in terms of like integration of AI, agentic, and even that important interface, which is the human in the loop.
I can start, but I'm sure Chris has many things to dovetail off of this. There are a number of things that are table stakes, and Chris referenced them earlier. It's the coordination of schedules. It's ensuring that you've got the right physician associated with at the right time for the right patient, for the right need. There's still a fair amount of inefficiency. Imagine that in healthcare, and it comes down to trying to force fit existing resources with current pain points, and breaking those things down. Where the use of agentic AI, particularly around voice, comes most critical is, yes, listening into existing conversations, whether they're between a patient and their doctor, or between doctors, and the insurance industry. Listening into those conversations and anticipating the data that's needed and the next 2 or 3 steps. In some respects, you can think of it like a chess game, and being able to anticipate where those next pieces are. If you're trying to get in to see your doctor at a particular time, the doctor knows typically what the next 2 or 3 steps in that healthcare journey, in that care path will be. And so they can position all of the clinical resources to fall in lockstep right behind that. And the patient wouldn't necessarily know that, but the healthcare system and the clinician does. And being able to use an agentic platform to plan out those next steps and deliver it in an empathetic way. Have that conversation that picks up the phone when a patient calls and says, "How may I help you? I'm listening. I understand what you're facing. Let me help you with that. Let me get the right nurse to take your call. Let me find the right specialist for what you're describing." And having that empathetic tone to be able to deliver that is where this is going. and why you need both a strong voice player as well as a strong orchestration platform that is tied into all of the disparate data systems.
That's great. And let's maybe hear from the Deepgram perspective, and then I have one question lined up for Deepgram, which I think you find interesting.
Yeah, I think Chip, you covered pretty much all the important starts of how the agentic platform can come together and make a difference. I think something a little bit different to think about is the ROI factor behind it, right? So, today there's a lot of AI out there that's pretty unpredictable in pricing, right? You don't really know as a customer, if it's going to be cheaper than, either a human agent or an offshore agent, right? Sometimes these offshore human agents end up being cheaper than what, certain factors of AI, can help on, right? So I think when you can go into a customer and you can share, different metrics on what you're, achieving, what you're improving, and you can very easily share, the dollars and cents of the value it's bringing, outside of saving time, making patient experience better. But if you can prove that your AI is not only cheaper than a human, but also has the metrics behind it, to advocate for it. That's really important. I think even as a a founder, as a startup, right? If you can articulate those values to end customers, makes a huge difference.
Sounds great. And I have a couple of questions coming from well, this is one coming from Twitch. So and I guess this is more for Deepgram than Core. But Mike Adam 123, thank you very much for your question. And he did ask, sorry, I don't know. Can this software isolate the voice of only one person into a different audio file? Can you please tell us something about this feature in your industry? So I think this is a feature that I think is called Diarization or something like that. But there are like different layers of actually doing. Can you tell us a bit more, Chris?
Yeah, good knowledge. It's speaker diarization. So yeah, pretty much about labeling, who's speaking when, right? So separating a doctor from a patient, in a medical visit, for example. The diarization is going a step further and actually splitting out those voices into their own tracks. So we do that today. We tend to be very good at diarization. Of course, it's always difficult, but I think it's about being able to accurately tag the multiple speakers in real time so the transcript can reflect who said what. So as for creating separate audio files for each speaker, that's more in the realm of source separation, which technically can be very challenging, especially in a noisy real world environment like a busy pharmacy or a hospital ward. But it's something that the industry is actively working on. And the end goal is exactly what's being described, not just knowing who spoke, but being able to work with each speaker's clean audio stream as if they were recorded in isolation. So yeah, it's a good question. Why does it matter? Because it opens up new use cases, right? Think about creating accurate, structured, EHR notes by isolating the clinician's voice while separately analyzing patient sentiment or symptom description, right? And being able to solve for that. So, while it's still an evolving capability, we certainly have a lot of the building blocks within something like diarization, a noise robust transcription, and we're going to continue moving towards fine graining that control over voice, every voice in a room.
Yeah, and again, like I'm thinking, in a busy environment like the hospital is, or like well, I'm in the UK, so GP practice or something like that, that would potentially, I think, enhance how AI can interact with all of the members of the team, and potentially when you're spawning up a number of agents, that's also like the ability to like feed the right feed to each agent, that's absolutely pivotal. So Mike, thank you so much for that question. That kind of helped us like demystifying a little bit or how this works behind the scenes. And actually, I wanted to tap a little bit deeper into that. So I know at Core, you folks are actually able to combine various different large language models, NLU techniques, natural language processing techniques, workflow automation, all under the hood. So how are you folks actually managing to do that? Can you give us a kind of an overview, maybe from a I don't know, both strategic and architectural perspective? That'd be really interesting.
Yeah, no, I can, and I have to comment the ability to discriminate from when there are multiple voices speaking. I think we all have noticed that as the human brain ages, we become less and less adept at being able to do that discrimination, and it calls into greater importance the ability of our systems at Deepgram and at Core to be able to maintain those simultaneous conversation threads. And why Core is using Deepgram as a partner is because they are best in class at being able to do that and feeding that data to Core, making it available for Core, so that we can not only deliver the right contextual response, but also to be able to then connect in the various search and processing engines that you just referenced, Giuseppe. How Core is able to do it, we have really a multi-threaded platform environment that allows us to leverage the most appropriate LLM, whether it be a commercial model or one that's been fine-tuned for a specific task, whether it be in pharmaceutical or specialty healthcare. And we're able to orchestrate the right LLM at the right point of a conversation. And that does differentiate our platform in the marketplace, because you need one type of action when you're trying to identify and authenticate a user. Speaks to some of the privacy and security questions that have come in, but then another when you're dealing with complex medical terminology like a cholecystectomy or what the latest and greatest GLP-1 happens to be. So you want to maintain the right speech and context understanding for drug names, at the same time for complex Latin-derived anatomical procedure terminology. And the Core platform is really adept at being able to select and use the most appropriate resource at the right time, and that's what separates us. I can speak to some of the privacy questions that have come in if time allows, but I'm happy. But Giuseppe, back to your
Sure.
train of thought.
No, absolutely. Actually, I got a very interesting question that I believe you folks might be really well equipped to answer. So this is a question coming from Douglas Scott. Hey, Douglas, thank you so much. I think I've seen you in a few previous episodes, so thank you so much for sticking with us. And the question is, are real-time event-driven use case being developed to support influence the conversation by adding the right resource during the interaction? So I guess that this goes a little bit into that kind of scenario that we were describing before. Imagine like we have a team of agents and a team of human beings. Like, is there anything that you're looking towards to build in terms of like influencing that type of conversation there and then? Thank you so much, Douglas.
Yeah, agreed. Thank you for the question. There is absolutely that capability already entrenched in the Core platform, and there's more being added. The most salient example is that of sentiment, real-time sentiment analysis and action. So if a patient is calling and describing the health of a family member and expressing clearly anxiety, because there are things they don't understand, they don't know, and that are occurring. The ability to deviate maybe from a traditional workflow to pick up on that level of anxiety and sentiment that's being expressed, and shift over to maybe the critical aspect, whether it be ensuring that there is a live licensed medical professional that's brought into the conversation to continue the discussion, or an encouragement to hang up and contact an emergency healthcare provider immediately, and to suspend with maybe the discussion of what medications are currently prescribed for their child, but shifting over to, hey, let's get a paramedic involved immediately. But that type of real-time orchestration is already ingrained in the platform and used on a regular basis.
Sounds great. Do you know how, like, in practical terms, how this actually works from a user experience perspective? Is it like doctors may receive a notification, like a dashboards or anything like that?
Well, the real-time aspect of this is from a patient caller perspective, it's seamless.
Mhm.
It's natural, just as if you were having a conversation with a live agent and you said, "Oh my goodness, my child just tipped over a pot of boiling water." The agent would say, "You go take care of that, while and we can come back to the mundane aspect of rescheduling your doctor's physical." So from a patient user perspective, it's seamless. From a back-end provider perspective, yes, there are both alerts, but also communication triggers across the realm of all back-end data systems, whether it's connecting into an EHR and triggering an alert, or responding to an alert that's coming in from a system of record, such as an EHR, or if there's a real-time need to communicate to all patients that have been prescribed a particular medication, and to proactively reach out via an alert notification or a live phone call to every patient that might have been prescribed something, or could have been impacted by a natural event, if you will. So those types of hooks, if you will, are part and parcel to the orchestration platform at Core, and they're leveraged based on application. Every application has a slightly different need.
Okay, sounds great. And I think that that's kind of a part of your, like, configuration of your platform, right? So I think that one of the aspects of being able to build agentic workload that scale is the possibility to interact with many different systems, and EHRs are potentially, like, one of the challenges, or like integrating with the EHRs are probably part of that. But I guess that sorry, I went on one of my rumbles, because I in a couple of episodes but
Do this.
ago, we were talking about, like, how EHRs are kind of difficult to interact with. So I guess that one of the interesting aspects is, like, how to build a good bridge, or like an open bridge to these systems. But I guess that we are slowly getting to the top of the hour. So I have one last question, which is actually looking ahead, and this is a question for both of you. So I really want to hear from your expert opinion. So looking ahead, what kind of innovations do you think will define the next generation of healthcare agentic system, especially the ones that are leveraging voice and this kind of experience?
Yeah, I can take that one first. I think we're on the path to get to true speech-to-speech conversations, right? And speech-to-speech models. We have that today, but there's a lot of work to make sure that it's truly conversational and it's pulling the right data from the right systems and provide the right responses back to a patient, in a conversational style. So that is where these models are going to be advancing to, right? Speech to text, taking those transcriptions will continue to improve, right? It's going to get more accurate as time goes on. Text to speech is going to provide, more voice capabilities, more languages, better tone control, emotional responses, pauses, better understanding of turn detection. Those are going to continue to improve. But the big leap is certainly speech to speech, where these voice agents can listen, understand, respond instantly, without converting everything back into text. So, imagine a digital nurse that can, maybe this is a stretch, but can triage symptoms, explain discharge instructions or answer questions about medication side effects, all in a natural conversational way across multiple languages that can switch languages, in real time, right? So if you start speaking in English, you're more comfortable in Spanish, being able to instantly switch that is really important. So it's not something that's really far fetched or even science fiction anymore. It's something that's truly being built, and probably within the next 3 to 5 years, we'll see it more widely adopted across healthcare and other industries, of course.
Sounds great. And Chip, your take on this?
Yeah, I echo everything Chris was referencing. We are using speech to speech in our laboratory, and finding tremendous value in it. I might indicate it maybe even faster than we realize, coming to a solution for you today. Chris's point of the ability to have multiple languages in a conversation. Quite frankly, none of us are pure one language speakers, even in our day-to-day dialogue, whether it's using colloquialisms along with the Queen's English, if you will, in the same phrase. That happens, and you want your speech-to-speech engine to mimic, in many respects, how a conversant is leading a conversation. We see that coming. It's going to unlock the ability to have a more complex orchestrated workflow. You touched early on this notion of a care path. That is what guides the delivery of care in most all contexts, but it often requires multiple actors in that same conversation, and that we're only going to get there in a speech-to-speech model. And so that is the direction that we see, and that we're going to be rolling out just as soon as it meets our performance characteristics.
Sounds great. So again, I feel really blessed to be able to have you both on stage today, because I think this really opens up to a lot of innovation and a lot of new use cases that you folks are building and you're on the forefront of. So yeah, folks, thank you so much for sticking with us today. We're slowly getting to the end of the hour, but I will be lurking around on LinkedIn, and Chip and Chris, you're welcome to do as well. We had a nice stream of questions that at this moment we're not able to reply to because of lack of time. But absolutely fantastic to have you both on. And folks, this has been AWS Let's Build a Startup. It's your weekly show about fantastic stories and fantastic founders that are building with us on AWS and currently building the future. We are streaming live 2 p.m. BST, 6 a.m. PST. By the way, folks, thank you so much for waking up at 5:30 a.m. to be on this show. 9 a.m. EST as well every Tuesdays from I think until December, we will be streaming about agentic use cases on AWS with startups. So if you like this sort of episode, and if you have any agentic use case that we would like to bring on this show, please do let me know. You can reach out on LinkedIn, on YouTube, in our comment section, however you prefer. But again, Chip and Chris, thank you so much for being with us today. And folks, remember, you can always watch these episodes on demand on both LinkedIn and on YouTube on the AWS events. Just search for Let's Build a Startup. You will find out. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next week. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Take care.